Today I wanted to take a look at a slightly older laptop because when new products come out, old stuff gets cheaper, and since Intel CPUs haven't really changed in architecture or transistor size for like the past 4 or 5 years since Skylake, I thought it would be a cool idea to see if last generation laptops are better in terms of value. This laptop is specifically targeting content creators and anyone who needs a fast CPU and an accurate 4K display. They're usually not cheap. You can expect to pay around $1,700 to $1,800 for this type of laptop, but this one has come down to around $1,200. And for comparison, the XPS 15 7590 at the same spec with the best display I've measured runs for $1,650 on sale or $2,000 regular price. So let's start with the build of the Zenbook Pro. It's good in some areas, but not so good in others. The screen has absolutely zero flex. It's one of few laptops where the screen assembly is made out of metal and it feels really solid. The keyboard deck isn't as strong though. There's quite a bit of flex as you press near the center. The hinge is firmly weighted, and I would say it's better to be a bit on the stiffer side rather than loose because this comes with a touchscreen. Screen wobble is fairly minimal. There's like a second of wobbling when you tap the screen, but it's among the better that I've seen. The bottom panel is metal as well, so the entire exterior of the laptop feels premium, and unlike all of the other Zenbooks that I've tried where they hide 2 of the screws beneath the rubber feet, so it's like a little bit more annoying to get inside, this one you just need a T5 screwdriver to take it off and you get access to the M.2 SSD and the Wi-Fi card. The RAM, unfortunately, is soldered on. The drive they're using is the Samsung PM981, excellent speeds, and you can swap out the Wi-Fi card for an Intel AX200 if you want Wi-Fi 6. You may have also noticed that there's no grill on the bottom panel for air intake. There's nothing on the sides either. It's actually pulling all of its air through the keyboard, and this results in really poor thermals. For reference, let's take the popular Dell XPS 15, which is known for having poor thermals. This laptop is actually worse than that. It throttles down harder, but if you take the bottom panel off so the fans aren't restricted, temperatures drop by 10 degrees on the CPU. I would not recommend this for gaming. I mean, it's only running a 1050 Ti, but if you're looking to do some gaming on like your free time without having to buy a second computer solely for gaming, this is limited to lighter games and older AAA titles. If you try and play newer AAA games, you're going to be playing it at around 30 to 40 FPS at 1080p medium. Okay, let's talk about the keyboard and the trackpad. These are both good, just with one compromise each. The actuation force, the layout, the positioning of the multimedia keys are all good, and I'm able to reach my normal typing speed without any trouble. It was actually really easy for me to get used to. The only thing I don't like with this is the short key travel, which is more about comfort and typing experience than something that affects my typing speed and accuracy, but it is something worth mentioning. The trackpad is actually really good and doesn't suffer from the minor issue of the cursor jumping slightly to the left or right whenever I click down on the trackpad. It's a smooth, frosted glass surface, tracking is dead accurate, the acceleration curve is also really good. I'm not sure if this is just an issue with my particular unit, so you should check yours if you do purchase this laptop, but the trackpad is loose and it kind of rattles if I tap on it. I haven't bothered to fill in any empty space to try and fix this issue, but it could be an option for anyone who already owns this laptop. There's also a fingerprint sensor to the right of the trackpad. If you look at the way ASUS markets this thing, the screen is the primary focus of this laptop, and it's good. Quite a bit better than the vast majority of other laptops, and when this first came out, I would say this is a great panel, but now in 2020, it's more like an 8 out of 10 if I had to put a number on it. The reason why is because the 4K panel on the XPS 15 is by far the best I've measured for just $1,650 USD with a good configuration. Everything is actually quite good on this display except for the color accuracy, but if it matters to you, you could always just rent or borrow a colorimeter to calibrate it. With the original Zenbook Pro with the 7th gen Intel CPUs, that thing had 4 speakers, right? 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, but they seem to have changed it with this model to be downward firing only, and it does kill quite a bit of the detail and clarity as well as most of the treble. It's also quite lacking in bass since it doesn't have a subwoofer, and if you flip the laptop over, they sound quite a bit better, but yeah, they're about average and not particularly impressive. On the left, you have your power, HDMI, 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports. On the right are two USB-A ports, a micro SD slot, and a headphone jack. The only complaint that I have is that the USB ports are really tight on mine, and it makes me a little bit nervous whenever I plug anything in. Not really a big fan of that. There's a 71 watt-hour battery inside, which is kind of small given the size and weight of this laptop. There's also a lot of empty space inside. I would have expected an 80 to 90 watt-hour battery, but I'm pulling about 4.5 to 5 hours of battery life with light use with the screen at 90% brightness. It also comes with a pretty large 150 watt power supply that ends in a barrel plug. So even though this laptop is getting kind of old now, the benefit is that this has come down a lot in price, and depending on what you need your laptop for, this could be a really good option. Like, you're still getting a 6-core CPU and the 4K screen, so if you're like a graphics designer or a photo editor, maybe video editing as well if you don't have complicated 4K edits, this might actually fit your needs really well if you're on a budget. As for whether I would go for this or the XPS 15, I would 100% go for the XPS 15 if you can afford it. This is more for if you need a 6-core CPU and a really good screen within a budget. If you can go above that, then XPS 15 is definitely the way to go. Okay, that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.